how to help someone with early dementia. If you are taking care of somebody or have a loved one near you who is starting to show signs of early dementia, then you may already be wondering these questions. If that sounds familiar, then you are in the right place, because I am here to answer that question in today's video. Plus, I'm going to share with you ways that you can slow down the progression of dementia and even prevent it altogether. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly Shockley, Doctor of Cause Chiropractic, board certified in sports medicine and specialized in clinical nutrition. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the everyday tips for caring for somebody who has early dementia. Then we're going to cover the best ways to keep dementia from getting worse. Believe it or not, you really can slow the progression. And finally, I will be sharing with you the only proven method for preventing dementia completely. You won't be hearing about this one from your MD. Let's dive on in. Let's get into some of the everyday care tips that I can share with you for how you can help somebody who's starting to deal with dementia and make your life and their life that much easier. One of the things that's difficult is when we start not being able to remember, our short-term memory, specifically, the nuances of the day can get really mixed up, and it can leave you and the person dealing with dementia frustrated. So one of the very important keys when you're working with somebody who's dealing with early dementia or even into full-blown dementia, consistency is key. Trying to keep as much about their daily life the same is going to provide more consistency, more security for them. I mean, think about it when you have a young child. Consistency is what creates security in their day. It helps them know what's coming. It helps them know what to expect. Well, when your memory is not working the way that it used to, having that consistency and knowing this is what happens every single day also can create security for them. So one of the things that you can do, because it can be very frustrating when you're the one taking care of somebody, and I know this firsthand because right now my mom's dad, my papa, is dealing with dementia, and between my mom and her two aunts, which everybody lives here in Colorado, we are caring for my papa. And when my parents have him, I am helping facilitate some of this, and being the doctor in the family, I'm helping give my insight into how we can help manage this situation so that everybody is happier and less frustrated. One of the things that works really well is to try to keep a routine, okay? Whether it's incorporating the dressing routine or what time they eat at each day, different activities that might be occurring in their day, having them happen on a routine, consistent basis is going to create some of that security again. Something else that can be helpful, for my papa, who he's phenomenal, guys, if there's an emotion attached to something, then it can be something new that occurred that he actually remembers. But the nuances of the day, you can ask him, how did you like your breakfast? And he won't even remember that he ate his breakfast. He's at that point in dementia. So for him, what works best in our family is he spends time at each one of my mom and her sister's homes. So he spends a week at a time. And while that is not ideal because it's not keeping him in his same living environment, he knows everybody's home really well. And it also creates more social atmosphere for him, being able to see more of the family, being able to rotate from one house to the next. But something that he can't keep track of any longer is whose house he's been at and which house he's going to. So keeping a little calendar that shows here's what today is, cross it off, once the day's done, and what's happening that day, or whose house they're going to be at, or, when you're going for certain checkups, whatever the case may be, if it's written down for them so they can refer to it, it helps provide a little bit more self-control. One of the things is really hard is that they're feeling like they're losing control. So we want to try to help create as many opportunities for them to feel like they're still kind of in charge and in control of what's happening in their world. So while they may not remember you just telling them, here's what's happening, if it's written down, they have something they can reference, and it can refresh their mind, and that can help them feel empowered. Some of this also comes along in the decision-making process. If like for my papa, we all cook his meals. So instead of just cooking the meal and giving it to him, allowing opportunity for him to still make decisions is something that's going to make him feel empowered again and give some sense of control. So it's the same as like, I equate this to when I, am dealing with my son. I don't just ask my son, what do you want for breakfast? That's a very open-ended question. And I could get a multitude of different responses back that some of them are not really going to be what I have time for. Or maybe I don't have the ingredients for. And then if I say no, well, I just gave him the opportunity to tell me what he wants, but now I'm telling him he can't have that. Instead, I create controlled decision-making environments. Okay. Would you like to have eggs and sausage for breakfast, or our paleo pancakes and some bacon? Because generally I have all of that on hand. My pancakes are already pre-made, so it makes life easier. So the same thing can be done when you're working with somebody who has dementia. Give them some opportunity to still make decisions for themselves. That's some of that dignity that they start to lose, and that lack of control. It can be really depressing for them and can create some of that irritation that you see that comes out with people who are dealing with dementia. So you can be like, hey, Papa, what would you like for dinner? X or Y? So it's controlled because I have the power to give either of those options, but he can still make a decision. So that has him end up feeling good also. One of the things that's really important, and it goes along the lines of that dignity side of things, is creating opportunity for them to still do as much as they're capable of doing for themselves. And part of this is incredibly important too, because really you can see this happen in fast forward. If you don't do things and you're not using certain skill sets, or like you're not getting up and walking around, the faster you're not going to be able to the next time you want to. Okay. So we encourage my papa to get up, from his chair on his own, because it's using his muscles and it's helping his body be able to do it on his own. Plus, my papa doesn't feel like he's helpless because he can still get up and walk around on his own, even though now he's using a walker just to give him a little bit of extra balance and support, which also creates some confidence for him. It's important that you still encourage them to do all of these things, because I know depending on who you are, you can have the tendency to want to just take care of them, which is not an ill intent, and you end up doing everything for them. Well, when you're doing that, it can be translated that you don't feel like they're capable of doing these things. And for some people, that's not going to be a helpful circumstance. But on the other side of this, if you're just waiting on them hand and foot, they're not having to do anything, which is actually going to exacerbate the problem that is there. So create routines, create opportunities for them to still be empowered with decision making, give them the ability and space, and you have to have some patience with this sometimes because things can take a little bit longer, but allow them to still do what they're capable of doing and encourage them to do those things also. Even if they don't want to go for a short little walk, encourage them, because it's really important for them to be able to continue walking. And, when they don't remember something, try with all your might to have some self-control and say, you don't remember? Like, that can be very discouraging and can be very demeaning for them as well. Like, obviously they're struggling with that. We don't have to point it out. We don't have to address it in that way. Something that's also really, really helpful for them is trying to still create activities for them to be involved in. And in addition to that, having conversation with them, two-way conversation, not just talking at them, but trying to really get them to engage in conversing. Again, we're using all of their abilities, all of their senses, their physical capabilities. We've got to continue to use that as much as possible and get them to do those things so that we can preserve those functions. And it helps immensely. So this is not everything that you could totally do, but hopefully some of these little tips and tricks will empower you for new ways to look at how are you doing life with the person who's starting to struggle with some early dementia. I'm super curious, super curious. Have you implemented these strategies already, or some of them? Have you learned some new ones that you're going to implement? Just let me know your feedback down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you and know what your thoughts are on this matter. Now we're going to get into the best ways to keep dementia from getting worse. These are things that will also be helpful for prevention, which we're going to get into even more so. But you can keep it from getting worse. One of my colleagues, mentors that I look up to is Dr. David Perlmutter. Another one is Dr. Jack Wolfson. He's a cardiologist. Dr. Perlmutter is actually a neurologist. So this very much is in his wheelhouse. And he says that while the jury is still out, can we cure dementia and Alzheimer's? What we do know is it's 100% preventable, and we absolutely have ability to slow progression. So what I want to share with you right now are some of the best lifestyle factors, different variables that you're going to be dealing with one way or another that happen every single day, that if you shift to these approaches, you are going to slow down the progression. You're going to preserve the memory that they have. And I want to share more about my papa through this because I can see this firsthand. The first one is about food. And guys, this is like one of the most critical variables for brain health and preserving it. Okay. We need to eat a lower carbohydrate, higher amounts of really healthy good fats, moderate amounts of clean proteins. And those carbohydrates should be predominantly coming from vegetable sources, minimal from fruit, minimal from grains. Okay. If you go into Dr. Dave Perlmutter's book, Grain Brain and then Brain Maker, he talks about this approach, and he's down in Naples, Florida. He watched his father actually suffer with Alzheimer's. So it's been his mission to figure out how can he solve this problem for other people. And those of us within this space, we all agree that high carbohydrate diets are really detrimental to the brain. And part of the reason why they are is they're really detrimental to the whole entire body. They're great at promoting what we call inflammation, right? Inflammation is the root cause of all disease and illness. So if you want to preserve the brain and its function as much as possible, you do not want to be putting foods in that promote inflammation. Carbohydrates are one of the best food groups that promote that. Now, not your vegetables, mind you. These are your grains, your refined sugars, refined grains, processed junk foods, all the foods you shouldn't be eating, but then also the controversial topic of grains and then even fruits. Okay. If you wanted to look up more of what does this look like in a diet, paleo would be kind of what you could Google and see what does a paleo diet look like, or like a modified Mediterranean diet would also be really helpful. This is something I witness in my papa all of the time. My aunts and my mom do a phenomenal job with him. And it's interesting because the three of them all do their best effort, but two of them are on more of the same page than the third one. And what I can tell you is I see my papa every single week because we take care of him. He gets chiropractic, he gets muscle work done. He lays on our Beamer, which helps improve circulation all the way down to the capillary level. In addition to doing nutrition, we're doing a lot of things with him to keep him going. And we've done this ever since we opened up the office now 17 years ago. So this isn't new. This is just what we do, but we're also keeping it part of his regimen to keep him going. And I will tell you, I see it structurally, I see it physically, I see it mentally, that the house he's at that he is not able to get up and walk around as easily in is also the same house that doesn't have the same thought process food-wise, and that's okay. There's more carbohydrates that are consumed, there's more grains, there's more sugars. And ultimately what I see is he's not as mentally sharp when he comes back from that house. Now, I witnessed this long before this ever even happened, that we'd all get together for a holiday and we'd be sitting around the table playing cards, and there would be a lot of sugar consumption happening. And the next thing you know, it's these particular family members who would consume more than, the rest or whatever, almost acted like they were drunk in some way, not thinking clearly, not speaking quite as intelligently as what they would otherwise. And I am hypersensitive to this, so I pay attention. I use a lot of observation with people, so I pick up on it. It's because basically like lights the brain on fire when you're consuming those types of foods. So food is a huge variable to help your loved one that is dealing with dementia keep it from getting worse. And for you, if you don't want to end up with dementia, this is a great thing for you to implement so that you don't end up there. You can prevent it. Okay. Another thing that's critically important for slowing the progression or even halting it is sunshine. And that means sunshine without sunblock. Okay. We don't get the full benefit of sunshine when we're putting sunblock on, which blocks our ability to produce vitamin D from the sunshine. Sunshine is really good just for overall health and well-being. But part of what happens out in the sun is we're being able to amplify some of that vitamin D production within our body. Vitamin D is critically important for proper brain function. People don't talk about that area a whole lot yet, but the cells in the brain have more ability to use vitamin D than anywhere else in the body. And majority of people are low in vitamin D. So daily exposure to sunshine, it helps stimulate the brain. It helps wake the brain back up. And getting some fresh air is always good for the soul. The third detail is making sure that we're taking care of our mouth hygiene and also our digestive system. Part of this is because what happens in the gut affects the brain. But also we know all disease starts in the gut, and it will be reflected in the mouth sometimes before you ever see symptoms in the digestive system. Because the brain and the digestive system are 100% connected, like there's no way to separate them. We want to make sure, again, that we're taking care of a digestive system, which means best way to do this goes back to number one, the diet and what we're consuming. Okay. Critically important. Another fact that's really helpful for prevention of like progressing of dementia is physical activity. Part of the reason being is when we are active, when we exercise, and it's more aerobic that the research has shown, but I guarantee you there's still something to be said for strength training in here as well. But just moving the body is important. When we do this, we produce a growth hormone associated with the brain. It's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. It's a big mouthful. Just know what it does. When we exercise, we generate new brain cells. We have the capacity to generate new brain cells, which is awesome. We want the brain to be vivacious and plump and round. And when you end up with dementia and Alzheimer's, the brain starts to shrink. It starts to atrophy. Exercise, that movement is critically important for making sure the brain in its entirety is healthy. And part of it is the generation of new brain cells. It also, that growth hormone helps us preserve our current brain cells. And if there's any stress in life, which I don't know about you, but I'd say there's probably some stress in life, exercise combats the negative effects of stress. Stress actually kills your brain cells and it stops your production of that growth hormone. So if your loved one is feeling stressed, again, this goes back to how do you help them manage through their day? It depends on what stage are they at with dementia. But helping life be less stressful is also going to preserve the brain. Incorporating more activity, more physical activity, whether it's dancing in the living room or it's going for a nice little walk. And if you have to do short mini workouts, those can actually be more effective than trying to get a longer workout in. All of that is going to help preserve the brain and help slow down the progression of dementia. There are definitely many more ways to continue to slow down that progression, but those are some of the key variables. Now, before I get into the only proven way to actually ward off dementia completely, I would just like to take a moment to remind you to subscribe down to the channel below. So click that subscribe button, turn the notifications on, and give me a big thumbs up if I'm doing a good job for you. I am regularly producing videos for you around brain health, gut health, immune health, you name it, everything to help you be able to take back control of your life, your health, and be more unstoppable. Achieve something I like to call total body mastery. So again, just click that subscribe button, turn the notifications on, and give me a big thumbs up. I appreciate your support. What is this proven method for preventing dementia altogether? It has to do with really being able to evaluate your health. And if you're already noticing, you walk into a room and you forgot while you were there, you're already working towards that path of dementia and Alzheimer's. Okay. if you're not feeling as energized, if you're feeling more fatigued, if your digestive system isn't working, or even if you feel like you're healthy, how you feel is not the best indicator of how healthy you are. You need to find and treat the cause of whatever issue you're having. You need to try to be healthy enough that you don't ever need to be on medication. And if you're currently on medication, you need to get yourself healthy enough so you don't need to be on it any longer. Because one of the most common precipitators of dementia and Alzheimer's are prescription and over-the-counter drugs. So how do we do that? We have to truly figure out what is causing the health challenges you're facing right now. And once we know what the actual cause of the problem is, then we can know what the solution is moving forward to actually help you eliminate the cause of the problem instead of just managing symptoms. Okay? So you have to find and treat the underlying health challenges that are there. The only way to do that is through comprehensive testing. You won't get this done through your MDs. If you're interested, I can help you with this. Just drop some comments down below and I will get right back to you on that. But I want to give you something tangible that you can take. And as I was alluding to, one of the most important factors for helping you prevent dementia or Alzheimer's, helping you slow down the progression and preserving, your loved one's ability or whoever you are helping with that is dealing with early dementia is all about the food. So if you look down in the description beneath this video, click on it so it expands. Scroll down until you see the Eat Your Way to Better Brain Health meal plan. That is a free meal plan that will show you exactly what this looks like so that you can implement it. Okay, the meal plan is super easy to follow. You don't even have to follow the meal plan because there's recipes in there. If you just want to start cooking some of these recipes and incorporating them into your weekly lineup, that is going to help you with every single bite you take with those meals to improve your brain health and function. I appreciate you being here greatly. I can't wait to see you on a future episode. God bless.